I want to introduce you to Steve Baker. He's an investigative journalist, Blaze Media correspondent. He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that might go to jail. In fact, I think if the election goes the wrong way, he's going to go to jail. He was parading in the Capitol building, which he really wasn't. He was standing with his back up against the wall, recording and doing the job of a journalist.
What evidence do you have of that?
Have the film of it. The whole time he was there. We have the
whole time.
The whole time he was there.
And it doesn't show him doing any of that stuff?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
no,
that's good. That's pretty good evidence.
But anyway, Steve is with us now. Hi, Steve. How are you?
And good morning to you too.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about a couple of things. First of all, give us an update. Because I understand we just broke some breaking news on the Blaze about the 3 hours and 19 minutes of the National Guard not coming to the Capitol.
Right.
Explain the story quickly and then give us the update.
I'll give this as concisely as I can. We have been really fortunate to come into contact with some very high-ranking officials, not only within, Congress, the government, but also the Pentagon. And one of the most recent relationships that I've been able to develop and get really close to is former Assistant Secretary of the Army, Stacy Wardensky. And he was referred to me by a congressional aide and said, I think this guy might talk to you. And this is a guy that was not only 30 years in the Army, teaches at West Point, chief economist of the Pentagon,
wow,
but managed an $80 billion Army budget over manpower as the Assistant Secretary of the Army.
Wow.
We're not talking about an unqualified, unexperienced,
or low level.
Not a DEI hire,
right.
Let's just say that.
Okay.
And so I've had dozens of calls with him, and then actually I've been able to meet with him in D.C. when we both happened to be there at the same time. And as a result of that, he decided to go on the record with us and reveal to the Blaze that he was on the teleconference call. In fact, they used his system that day when the Army or the Pentagon generals, the guys that answered directly to Mark Milley, who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time, these were the 4-star and 3-star generals, were on the teleconference call with the National Guard commanders at the same time discussing the deployment of the Guard after Capitol Police Chief Son was desperately trying to get them to come down and assist him at the Capitol. They're only blocks away.
And they were ready.
They were completely ready.
Yeah.
And this is what the Guard commanders were trying to convey, but the Pentagon pukes, the guys who answered directly to Milley, were saying, we're not so sure about the optics of this. So we originally thought that the phrase, we don't like the optics, came from Nancy Pelosi. And 3.5 years ago, the second story I ever wrote about January 6th, I was actually entitled, Who Was Up the Chain on January 6th? And that's where I mentioned the optics quote and applied that because it came from her Sergeant-at-Arms of the House,
right,
Paul Irving, passed along to her. So we just assumed that it was Pelosi. No. It was passed along from these generals at the source, at the Pentagon, on this teleconference call, which Assistant Secretary Stacy Wardensky was on that call, and he laid it all out to us.
And this is the first time ever in the history of the National Guard that there has been a problem in Washington, and they have not gone in to quell it.
That's
first time.
That's exactly it. And there's so much detail. And, of course, we've got the article up on the Blaze right now. But then just an hour ago, Representative Loudermilk, Barry Loudermilk, who is the chairman of the Oversight Subcommittee, he dropped a bomb just an hour ago while we're getting ready and preparing for this interview right here. And he drops a list of transcripts related to the National Guard deployment. And we've heard, that Trump said that he wanted the Guard there, and we've heard Kash Patel say that and corroborate that. And there's been this back and forth argument. It's in writing now.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to read one quote, just one, from General Mark Milley, former chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, January 3rd, 21. The president just says, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event.
Oh, my gosh.
Trump says, hey, I don't care if you use guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. Boom. Done.
Unbelievable. And that's not going to be reported.
His campaign has to get on this.
Oh, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. All right, let me switch gears and talk to you about Gates came out and said, I don't know if this is verified anywhere, but Gates came out and said that there have now 5 assassination teams going after the president. He said 3 of them he believes are foreign and 2 of them are domestic. What do we know about, have we made progress on either of these investigations?
Well, you know, Eric Prince, that's his biggest fear.
Yeah.
Is that this is going to move beyond the lone gunman or the disaffected young man or the insane guy from North Carolina, or whatever the case may be.
Oh, yeah.
That it's going to move to a Venezuelan gang or it's going to move to an Iranian cell being activated.
You're seeing how the Secret Service move. You see their weaknesses. You see it all. Why wouldn't you take that shot if you're Iran?
And that's why we've been calling on, since the first assassination attempt back in July 13th, that the president needs to augment, if not replace, his security while he still legally can before the election and bring in his own private security. Because obviously the United States Secret Service are not doing their job.
100% agree. 100% agree. So what is the latest on the shooter at the golf course? Do we have anything?
Yeah, we just released a story this morning. I did. And you're not going to believe this. So we know about the police standoff that he had with Greensboro Police and Guilford County, North Carolina Sheriff's Department back in 2002.
Right. Charged with a weapon of mass destruction and actually convicted of that. Did he ever go to jail, prison?
Glenn, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you.
Oh, yes, I will.
Before that incident, 5 months before, he was arrested for being found with multiple explosive devices, was on his own recognizance release at that time on probation at the time he did the 3-hour standoff with local police with the gun, with the alleged automatic rifle.
How did he not go to prison?
He didn't just not go to prison while he's now, after going through the legal process and being convicted and then being released and being on 5 years probation, somehow he was granted travel to Costa Rica. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Costa Rica or not, but there's only 3 reasons for going to Costa Rica, and 2 of them are not good.
What are the 2 reasons that are not good? I've not been to Costa Rica, and I don't.
Sex trade and money laundering operations.
Okay.
The third one, though, is what? It's pretty?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
great beaches, great jungle
right.
resorts.
Okay. Well, and if I ever am in Costa Rica, that's why I'm going. Your recommendation. But that doesn't make sense. That's like Jeffrey Epstein kind of stuff that everybody knows, but for some reason they let him go.
Yeah.
And is this just incompetence? Was this reimagining the police and justice, or no? He's white. What happened?
All right. He is a career criminal. He has charges going all the way back to when he was in high school. He is a guy who's had over 100 criminal charges leveled against him. He has I think he has 74 arrests. That's why he was so calm on his arrest last Sunday. It's like, he had that smirk on his face and he was so calm. And this is just another day at the office for him in terms of being arrested by cops. He's had multiple felony convictions. He's never spent a day in prison as a result of that.
How?
Okay. Well, I interviewed the former conservative sheriff out of North Carolina, out of Guilford County, and he told me that the county there, Guilford County, is traditionally extremely liberal, and that they would rather release people and plea them down rather than going through the process of, they are government workers, so they would have to actually go to work if they do a trial.
But wait a minute. If you have a machine gun, if you have a fully automatic weapon, that's ATF. That's a federal crime.
And that's exactly exactly what the sheriff said. That crime in particular should have been referred to the federal authorities, and it should have been adjudicated there. But it was not. It was pled down locally to a concealed carry violation. But
a concealed carry. He's got a fully automatic weapon, and he's a criminal. He shouldn't have had it in the first. He shouldn't have a gun.
So we are told. That's correct. Now, the only other thing, if we pull back from the ledge and we try, if I try to pull a stew right here, and and that's this, is that if he is insane, we have another problem. This is indicative of why there's so many homeless people on the streets, because we have no place to put insane people anymore. And rather than putting this before a judge and a judge going, the dude's crazy, we have nowhere to put these people.
Is he crazy?
Some say that he is, and when we have testimony now, we have this nurse, coincidentally from West Palm Beach, that was over in Ukraine with Ryan Routh, who is saying that he was a nut when he was over there, that he was a constant problem, and
she's the one that reported him when she got back here, right?
Right. Now, when she gave that report, I sent that report, that Wall Street Journal article, over to all of our sources in the intelligence community, all of our sources, special ops community, all of our sources in all of our former FBI guys. To a man, everyone responded, BS. She's a CHS. This Wall Street
CHS,
confidential human source, and that this is just a disinformation article. That's what. This is not me saying this. This is the response I got from every one of them, including guys like Steve Friend, who you've had and interviewed.
Okay, just keep on these stories, Steve. I really appreciate it, and keep us updated.
Will do.
God bless. That's Steve Baker, investigative journalist, Blaze Media correspondent. Both of those stories available right now at theblaze.com.